Hello everyone and welcome to Snap Take. It's time for one of my favorite features that we do each and every month here on the channel. We're doing our top 5 decks in Marvel Snap, but we don't do this like everyone else. When we do this, we go and get the top 5 decks on the Infinite leaderboard, what the top 5 players played in the previous season. That is every deck that finished in the top 5 in January, and we actually ended up with 8 of the top 10 players' decks on the Infinite leaderboard. So we've got a massive video. After we get done with that, we also cover what I predict will be the top decks of the next season. So let's get started with just looking at the total snap points and how things broke down. Number one would have been a player named Il Tatico, who was disqualified, at least by me, at 10,499 snap points for colluding with the Italian meta, aka the quote unquote mafia. That's their name, sorry. Where we know that they tried to pump Derek early in the season. Derek refused it, and then they decided to pump Il Tatico, and unfortunately, that's going to just disqualify him from this list. He played Move Bounce. We're going to talk about that list multiple times in this video, just so you know. The number 9 spot was BBAK. BBAK is a player on the Asia server who has finished number 1 previously in the February season and is just all around a top player. He's finished number 2 previously. He's finished in the top 5 several other times. He had 9,359 snap points. Burrs, who was in the top 5 last season, I believe at exactly number 5, was 9,403. Burrs is a player. I don't know if anyone knows how to get me in touch with Burrs. I'd appreciate it. I don't have Burrs' list. I have everyone else listed in the top 9 here's list, except Burrs, who I unfortunately don't know. But who was just interviewed and did a great interview on KM Best's YouTube channel, but is an American player who plays completely meme decks, finished number 7 with 9,483. Our friend Cougar hit 9,533, playing a variety of decks. Really, really cool stuff. Meanwhile, another Italian player, Jaco, who left that aforementioned Mafia group, had 9,535, barely ahead of Cougar, and Jaco was able to do that playing largely one deck. Ecmati played the most decks of everyone. Cougar played 6 decks. Ecmati played 8 decks. He had 9,594 snap points. Ekmati is a Brazilian player, wonderful Marvel Snap player, often near the top of the Infinite leaderboard. Former 2-time number 1 and multiple number 2 player, Derek finishes in the number 3 spot at 9,770, playing, I want to say either 3 or 4 different decks. Honifer played 3 decks at 9,841, and Sizer as well played 3 decks at 10,399. Becoming our champion yet again after winning 4 times in the year of 2024. He takes the first month of 2025. Before we get to these next cards, please hit that sub, like, and comment if you're willing. We bring you more decks in Marvel Snap than anyone. Every day we have full deck guides, including card replacements and everything else you need to complete your Marvel Snap journey. If you want the best decks and the most content, we'll be doing 9 videos at least this week. You can hit that sub button by pressing that little YouTube looking symbol at the bottom right of your screen. So please hit that. It really helps us out. All right. BBAK Snap, twitter.com/BBAK Snap is a player on the Asia server once more. He played 2 decks, Sarah Miracle and Arisham No Doom. So the Sarah Miracle list that we're talking about is what he played until Luke was nerfed, and then after Luke was nerfed, he moved to Arisham. The Sarah list is a really cool one. It runs Sarah and Antivenom. Antivenom is sort of like almost a backup Sarah in this, in that it hits a card and it gives you what you need to succeed with the extra energy cheat. You have Luke Cage in the list to sort of bounce back from the Antivenom. Man Thing is an absolute lane stealer against a ton of different decks, while Mobius is just one of the most powerful cards in the game right now. So many of the best decks really need that cost reduction to do anything, and Mobius able to shut them down. And when Mobius can't, you've got Ghost, so then you can Shadow King, Shang-Chi, Killmonger, etc. to take them out. Valentine is just good tempo. Zabu makes your 3/4s work, and the number, I keep being asked this on stream, the right number of cards for Zabu is at least 3. If you've got 3 or more 4s, you really want Zabu. But this is a control list that worked really well, and BBAK was able to climb a ton with it. At that point in the season, Luke was nerfed, and BBAK switched to an Arisham list. This is a very control-y Arisham list. You'll note that both of these are fairly control-heavy builds. This one running Shadow King, Mobius, Shang-Chi, Lady Deathstrike, and Alioth as its control pieces, along with Legion to some extent, while it's also just running some generally good Arisham cards. Quinjet to make things cheaper, Cable and Iron Patriot as a bit of card generation. Mobius, again, is too good to avoid right now, and Galacta as your big power spike if you see her on turn 3. So this is another really cool list. Arisham is This is, I believe, the only time Arishem is going to appear in this video, but I think Arishem is in a very good place. Next up, we have Burrs, who's on the EU server, and the one player whose decks I don't have. Again, sorry about that. But then we go to Butt, who's on the America servers, and Butt played 3 decks. He played more than 3, but we've seen them at this point. He played Victoria Hand Ongoing, Toxic Ajax, and Galacta/Galactus. So the Buttster list is the deck that he played at the start of the season to claim a lofty perch on the Infinite Leaderboard. You might have seen Dexter tweet about this. I don't believe he ever made a video of it. It was in one of our videos, but I don't believe Dexter ever made a video for it. This is fundamentally a Victoria Hand ongoing list where you can use Onslaught to either amp your Victoria Hand cards to crazy levels or to make your Ant-Man / Mr. Fantastic lane winning threats. If you can do that on top of Moonstone, we're really, really going to town, and just things get a little crazy. This is just an overall very powerful list. You'll note that it's running frickin' Punisher. Should probably be speed, but it's running frickin' Punisher. Again, really, really cool list. Wiccan is insane here. If you can get Wiccan off, you can go Moonstone and like Kate Bishop, and then you can go Onslaught and a couple arrows. You just win. Very powerful list. Let's keep going. Then we have the toxic Butt list. So what Butt told me he was doing is he would give himself an allowance to try and pull off some silly combo, like vipering and over to trigger a destroyer type stuff, and then he would lose a bunch of snap points. And then when he had to climb back, he would just play the toxic list. This is Butt's version. I believe that this is card for card the same as the Sizer version. I could be wrong. We'll get to the Sizer version later, but I'm pretty sure these are the same list. And this was Butt's big climber. And then Butt played a bunch of different versions of Galactus, including the one that we hit Infinite with last season. But his most played version of Galactus last season, pre-Ares, right? Because last season, before Ares came out, there was almost no Scar in the meta, was this list, the Jean Grey Hope Summers list, where you wanted to go Hope, Galacta on Hope, and then you can play Galactus and then play Guardians to lock it up. We featured this list and a bunch of people hit Infinite with it. It is a really, really powerful list and super fun. Although, again, if you're seeing a lot of Scar, probably not the right list for you. Outside of that, though, like against everything else in the meta, it is incredibly, incredibly strong still to this day. This is about as good as Guardians of Galactus has ever been. After this, we have Cougar. Cougar's in the America server. This was his first season this high up, although he's in the top 20 again this season. He played Negative Mood, Toxic Ajax, Anti-Clog, Clon Going, Bullseye Disco, and Discount Going. You'll see what those mean as we go. So first we have the KX4N Doom 2099 list. I called it Mood 9902. Get it? So this is the basically Doom 2099 negative, right? Like it's running the full Mr. Negative package, except instead of running Taskmaster and something else. Oh, Taskmaster and Wong, it says, okay, sometimes we're just going to win because we have Doom 2099. That's all that this list really does differently than most other lists. It doesn't bother with Jane. It runs Blue Marvel instead. So this is it. It's just a really, really simple list. At the start of last season, it was very strong. It's not something I especially urge people to play right now, but it's certainly not a bad list by any means. And it was the first climber for Cougar. Cougar also played a different version of the Afflict. This is actually almost exactly the same version I run, except he has a Luna in it. So wow, even pre buff Luna, but he played this more toward the end of the season as Luna got buffed. The power here being you can go Luna into Blink and hit your Ajax, Man-Thing, US Agent, Malekith, whatever, which is very, very strong. You can also Luna into Ajax early, or you can use Luna to last turn be able to go Hazmat Ajax all in one turn, all of which are extremely powerful plays. This version also runs Shadow King as an extra way to deal with the anti-venom bullshit or to turn off opposing power cards. Very cool version of the Afflict. I immediately put this one into Marvel Snap to give it some play. I think it's great. Then we have Cougar's The Renaissance. I inspired this one because in a video with Ika, I was talking about how you can. Well, Ika was explaining to us how you can go Spider-Man on a right lane and then Viper to guarantee sending over the Annihilus card, which is a really, really, really cool play. Unless they have Cosmo there, that basically guarantees that you're going to be able to send over the Void, which is a game-winning play. That's what this list is. It combines with Scream, who's one of the very best cards in Marvel Snap. And so Cougar played this and was able to climb toward the end of the season. The list that Cougar became famous for, the first one we featured, was this Clog ongoing, Clongoing, if you will, where the idea is to win one lane with Clog, and then you can get a sort of double gore. by going Mystique and copying Gore with Mystique in a Moonstone lane, and then dropping Iron Man on the Gore lane and two double Gores is usually a winning condition in Marvel Snap. And then you could just win through like Clog is good. So really cool list. Basically, Ravone and Moonstone are broken, and thus you're able to do all sorts of silly combos. I love this list. This was one of my favorite lists of the season. He also played a version of Discard Bullseye. Shocking no one, Discard Bullseye had a couple of weeks of being the top deck. It's still very good. I don't think it's the best deck in the game, but it is a very, very good list, especially if you can discard Swarm. If you can get Swarm going, the opponent doesn't have Mobius. It is extremely hard to stop this as it puts up absolutely crazy numbers. I believe this is the last list. This is Run from Multiple Men, not Multiple Men, Run from Mobius and Mobius, because this is just a list that's all about the discount. This is basically saying if you can get the Ravona Moonstone stuff going, you're good to go with the silly Gore Iron Man stuff, but it's more all in on the ongoing, basically. Instead of worrying about doing extra things, Spider Ham gives you a little bit of control and a lot of information, and everything else here is relatively straightforward, as we're just playing a power game plan instead of bothering with the clog. We're saying if we can see some combinations of Gore, Iron Man, Anti-Venom, Moonstone, we should have some broken combos that the opponent should not be able to answer or handle. Jaco of the EU server is our number 5 player, as we're finally at the top 5, and Jaco played Bounce Move. He played the classic Bounce Move that Sizer created, and yeah, he finished in number 5. He was like number 2 or number 3 last season, and he's number 5 this season playing the same list. It's still really good. I don't know what to say. Is it as good as it was before the nerfs? Of course not. That's why they were nerfs. But it is still a very powerful list and one worth messing with. Then we've got Ekmati and his whopping 8 lists. Ekmati played Crazy Wiccans Tryhard, his own version of the Sarah list, the base negative, the base small good cards, both lists we've seen before, the base 10 power, that's the Scotta list, Dinosauron, and then 2099 Lockdown. Let's go through them. We'll start with Crazy Tryhard, which is fundamentally a Wiccan Fenris list, as much as more than anything else. Basically, you can get if you can get Wiccan going, you've got a win condition. If you can get Gore going, you've got a win condition, and then Shang and Fenris are a win condition. So you have all these different ways to win games of Marvel Snap, all these different ways to find power. This was very, very popular at the start of last season, but it slowly lost popularity as the season went on. I bet you this is really good right now, and people just aren't playing it though. Then we have Ekmati's version of Sarah, and I actually like this version a little better than the previous because this one runs Anti-Venom and Malekith with the Shang-Chi, which I think is really, really cool. Malekith gives you an extra chance to draw Sarah, which is huge, and an extra place for a control card. Although obviously hitting Fenris Wolf or Iron Patriot or Mobius are bad, you don't either want to draw them on turn 5, right? So that gets you closer to Sarah and closer to having really powerful things to do. Anti-Venom again works as sort of like an extra Sarah and gives you basically an extra place to wait, an extra place slash way to play your control cards, which is really, really cool. I really, really like this list, and I don't really enjoy Sarah gameplay at this moment, but if I did, this would be where I would be looking. I think this is probably one of the best lists in the game. Then we have the Mr. Negative, and this is our classic negative. This is exactly what negative is right now. Sometimes it runs Cassandra Nova over Ironheart, sometimes it doesn't. It does not really matter. This is the version that has been the best for a while, and unless opponents are running Mobius, it is officially consistent enough to just be a threat by just seeing Ravona and not negative, because if you see Ravona, you can go Gore on 5, and then you can go Mystique and another card on 6, or Mystique and Iron Man, for example, on 6. If you have 7 turns and you see Ravona, you can go Gore into Mystique and Taskmaster, which is silly. There's a lot of ways to do a lot of silly things with this list. Very, very powerful stuff. Negative hit the top freaking 5, baby. That was a month early. I said that a month ago, and it just took an extra month for it to really hit. All right, next up we have Small Good Cards Pre-Infinite, which is the Small Good Cards. I don't know why I didn't name this Pre-Infinite. This is the same version as freaking always. This is one of the best decks in Marvel Snap. It's around. It's great. It's worth playing. That's basically all there is to say. It fell off for a little bit because of Victoria Hand, and then by the end of the season, it was right back to its original perch. This, again, remains one of the best decks in the game. It's not a cheap one, but it is a strong one. Then we have the Surtur 10 Power. This is basically one of the like 3 versions of the Scotta list, which is just the straightforward Surtur stuff, Surtur Scar stuff. There's nothing fancy here. This one runs Juggernaut, has an extra way to like steal lanes. Um, Playing against this is really frustrating because you're never sure exactly what version they're running. Are they running Juggernaut they're all running Cosmo, right? Are they running Juggernaut and Armor? Are they running a Shadow King? So on and so forth. Trying to play around all that is a nightmare. So it's unsurprising that Scott has succeeded with this. Then we have the Dinosauron. This is the Ekmati version. It's one card different than the Derek version we'll see later, although it is Derek's card shell. This list was just everywhere for like a week right before Ares came out. It wasn't as good after Ares came out, but it was everywhere for the week before Ares came out as this just powerful shell that had a counter to basically almost everything without looking like it, right? It had a lot of powerful cards and a lot of ways to get about making them seem really strong on the board. And the final deck Ekmati played was Lockdown. This is a Lockdown list we featured last week. It is a Doom 2099 Lockdown. This was, until Sam Wilson came out, the best version of Doom 2099, or at least the winningest version of Doom 2099. This is the last list that can still do the Storm. Well, I guess Arishem, but it's the last list that's likely to be able to hit you with the Storm War Machine Legion combo. So you have that combo combined with your Doom combos, combined with your just drop a freaking Infinite on your face combos, which is really good. And this list is very, very strong. This one is one that I think a lot of people would enjoy if they gave a try to. Derek is on the EU server, but the others leaderboard. He played Hand Misery, deck he created. Derek Bullseye, deck he created. Derek Bullseye is a card he added to the Bullseye deck. Dinosauron, deck he created, and Shuri Kitty, which is completely wild, and I don't think it's even good, but he's Derek, so he won with it. So Derek played this list. This list is back near the top of the meta. It's running a couple cards different now. I believe it's running a Shadow King for Luke Cage, and it's got a Juggernaut in it for, I don't know, I think maybe Red Guardian, something. A Juggernaut in it for something, but this list has been at the top for about a month. This is, in my opinion, one of the like 5 best decks in Marvel Snap. Period, bar none. It just needs like to be tweaked always for the meta, and as long as you can do that, this one's just extraordinarily hard to beat. I think this list is excellent and one that is worth messing with. Derek's Bullseye, again, one of the top lists in the game. Derek, in this case, has basically said, I don't need Scorn, and runs Red Guardian instead. That's it. That's the whole difference here. We're running Red Guardian over Scorn as a way to win mirrors, as a way to shut down opposing power cards, and everything else here should be fairly self-explanatory, as we've seen this list multiple times at this point. I am unsurprised that I didn't think Bullseye was going to be this good, but now that we know that Bullseye is this good, I'm unsurprised to see this list appearing near the top. Then we have the Dinosauron list. You'll note the one difference here is that Derek runs Juggernaut, where Ekmati ran Typhoid Mary. Same list, we talked about it. Derek's list feels a little more controlly, while the Ekmati list has just an extra big, strong card. That's it. Super simple, super straightforward. Just a lot of stats say deal with a lot of stats. Then finally, Derek finished the season trying to make Kitty Shoron work. Sorry, Shuri Kitty work. Kitty Shoron. Shuri Kitty work. I don't think this deck is good, but Derek won a reasonable amount with it. It's a really, really cool list. If you want to play it, I strongly urge you to. It's easy to make a big kitty. It's hard to manage to win the game with that big kitty. I still think this is really good and really fun, and I think you should give this one a good old try if you want a fun list. This is honestly one of the worst lists in the video, I think, but it is arguably the most fun. The number 2 spot is Honifer, who is on the American server, played Derek's Hand Misery, Small Good Cards, and Junk Hand. So we saw this list moments ago, so I'm not going to talk about it again, but he played this. He also played the Small Good Cards, which is another list we know, but the main list Honifer played, he also played a bit of Bounce Move, but how many times can I show you Bounce Move? He also played a bit of this list of his own, which is sort of, which is just like, here's a bunch of junk cards, and here's the Victoria Hand combo, right? So it wins because your opponent doesn't have a lot of space. This fell out. I think this might be one of the better decks again because this fell out of the meta because everyone was running Misery because Mill was so prominent. Mill is now on a downturn as people started countering Mill. And with Mill on a downturn, this list should be right back because it is extraordinarily hard to beat and extraordinarily frustrating to play against. Really, really cool list. Very annoying. Hey, if you look to see gameplay from all these lists, please check out the stream team. Today at 12 p.m. Eastern, Gregor2424 will be streaming a bunch of games, so go check them out. All right, our number 1 player is Sizer, who streams at Sizer2654 on the EU server. He's Austrian. He played Toxic Ajax, Pure Move, Bounce. So first we have the Iron Patriot list, which is again either the exact same or one card off that butt list we talked about earlier. At the number 7 spot in the video. Sizer created this at the start of the season and used it basically to hit infinite, and then climbed a bunch in infinite with it, and then went back to his old faithful decks. Although he came back to this occasionally and had really great success. One of the two major decks Sizer played is Sizer Main. This is the version he played at the end of the season, largely because by the end of the season, Mobius was the best ongoing tech card around. So he started running Mobius in the list as a way to say, okay, I just auto beat negative. I just auto beat X, Y, and Z, which is a really cool way to go about it. If you haven't played this list, I covered it last week in great detail. If you haven't played it, the way you win with this list is you play cloak on the easiest way to win with this list is to try and play everything center and left, and then you cloak on the right on turn 5, move what you can, and then you decide between Eliath and Heimdall to win the game. Sizer's bounce move was the deck he played for the majority of the season, even if he didn't finish the season with it. Once US Agent was nerfed, he added Nico, who's really here for the move to the right, but occasionally just the extra 2 power is meaningful, and there's a lot of extra things to do with her. Obviously, the location change is really good sometimes. So, Move Bounce was the best deck in the game for last season. It is not the best deck in the game anymore, I don't think, but it's still very powerful. And I think probably in a decent place. I hope in a decent place. We shall see. Hey, check me out on stream. I should be streaming at some point tonight. If not tonight, certainly tomorrow at twitch.tv/pulseglazer. My question, if you would like to win a season pass, is very simple. Every day, as long as you sub, like, and comment, if you comment every day, you are entered to win a season pass at the end of the week. So, what's your best deck so far been? Is the question you have to answer today in the comments to be entered to win that season pass. Top 5 decks to watch from January. So we have Emma's version of Arisham, which is different than one we saw, and also was not top 5. We have Zombies Surtur Scream, MSL Chamo's Galacta Midrange, Cougars Evo Jacks, and then my version of Doom Going. Last season, we hit on 4 of the 5 lists we picked out. We've never hit when we predict these on less than 3 of 5. So we are predicting top decks for the end of the season. Sorry, I should say February at the top of the page. Top decks at the end of the February season that were not top decks at the end of the January season. So first we have Chamo's deck. MSL Chamo played this Galactic Gwenpool control list. This is like a Ceralis. I think it's one of the best decks in the game, and I'm so happy that Chamo came up with it because I think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm so happy to see Thena back. It's just got like 18 different little mini combos. This is one of the best decks. Also, have you noticed how much Iron Patriot is in every deck? Iron Patriot really needs to tune down in terms of play rate. That's why he was in the thumbnail. But like Iron Patriot's in every freaking deck, and this is another one that takes great advantage of that card, able to get you a cheap card that you can play with Galacta, play with Gwenpool, so on and so forth. This is an insane list. I really think it's strong. I think that this is straight up better than the Sarah versions, and thus should be played more. Then we have Zombie Surtur Scream, which we featured, I don't know, Friday or so. This is one of the most played decks in the game. I think the future home of these lists is likely to be the Scream list as much as the Surtur, as much as the Scar list. Like this list absolutely loves, or at least potentially loves, the name of the card is now gone. General Thunderbolt Ross. So Thunderbolt Ross has to find homes in these lists, and I think he's going to start to relatively soon in decks that look like this. I think it's really strong with this and Hela and the Scar version. But the Scar version was covered last season, so I think this will be here. Emma's version of Arisham is the Doom 2099 Arisham. I made sure to let you know the BBAK one wasn't a Doom 2099. I think that this is fundamentally going to be one of the top, like I think 3 decks in the game. I think it's already one of the top 3 decks in the game. This deck's prominence has chased out Mill. Every card in this list is extraordinarily strong, both in combination and alone. It's running basically the best cards at every slot with extra energy. I don't know what else to say. This is insane. This deck is so good right now. Next up, we have the Scar Farm. We featured this in yesterday's video. If you want a fuller breakdown, this will also be our Marvel Snapzone article for the day. This one is a lovely, extremely strong, high evolutionary Ajax list. I think this is the list that really wants Diamond back, likely in that Red Guardian spot. And once it has Diamond back, it might even be able to cut. Once it has Diamond back, excuse me, and the other card, the 4/5 that steals power, Laufey, I think it might be able to cut like High Evolutionary and just say we are now an entirely different version of the Ajax list that can compete with the main version. I think that's going to be a really cool place to be. I would not be surprised if this became meta prominent if people played it more. This is one I'm most likely to miss on because people can just go back to the classic Ajax and not play this, but I think this version has some real meta answer strength, especially if we end up adding like a rogue or an enchantress in order to handle opponents' Luke Cages. Then we have Captain Latveria. Um, I created this deck at the start of the season before Sam Wilson came out. You can see the date it was created. Um, and this right now is the top win rate deck at 100 games of high infinite, with Zabu out and Super Scroll in. So, oh, I think this list is really really strong and worth messing with. So go play it. I don't know what to tell you. I love this list. I think that I don't like playing it, but I love that this list exists and it's so strong because it's a keep the meta on a list, honest list. And I think that it's very unlikely that by the end of the season this deck does not exist as one of the very best. That's it. If you're interested in supporting the channel and getting the best decks all the time, please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/snapjudgments. We host tournaments there. We do all sorts of great stuff. So if you're interested, please check it out. Certain tiers of support also come with on-air thanks. Ocularis is our patron of the month. Thank you so much, Ocularis. And then I'm going to say thank you to a bunch more people. The great Abigail Kiesling, mandatory burnout, it regardless, LAB, Inc., I am Frostman, Hota Neverete, Thinking Poker, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, and Ryan Wood. Kiertixley, the King of Questions, Koirate, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Pyrophros, The Goat Seeker, Hallowed, Nightmare, welcome aboard Nightmare, Only Fox, Synth, Nick, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger, Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Beza, Black Jeebus 23, Expert C, and Skippy G, Rhyming Friends, Jessica Gamble, what's up, Jess? Slush Death, King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kevsey Hoda, Lunar Chris, Clam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Silverman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Stephen, Brian Coffin, Tristan Spartan, Jason B., Mr. Greg Sterry, and Matt V. Real name town is huge. Ren Wrench, Corwin, John Q, and Jim McHugh. Keep down, you stout. Eighth, Sage, one big man, sure is. Milkman for reals. Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, BG, Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decisions Joe, Models Mod Supreme, The Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan 56, The Fuzzy Dump, Spectrum X, Hoot, MBTB, Shannon, Matt H, DJ, Mikey Hijinks. Thank you so much for the gifted earlier, DJ. No freaking flex. My throat. Nick the Greek Geek. What's up, Nick? Zodrex, the King of Canada, Denman Falcon, Fa Thor Newman, Jonesy, Two Ties, the Great Lord as the Parking Tucker, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for. That's it. We're done for the night. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow with a video, maybe two. We're doing two videos either Tuesday or Wednesday. We're doing two videos Thursday. So get ready for a busy week of Snap Judgments, and I'll see you then. Don't forget to hit that sub by pressing the button right at the middle of your screen. Peace.